Hello. ADHD, the armchair diagnosis people give themselves when they find themselves going down rabbit holes about their favorite Netflix show. Now, I don't want to invalidate real-time diagnoses of ADHD when they're made by a qualified professional. And since 4 years ago, when every single person who is just slightly distracted or forms a habit of forgetfulness claim that they have it. If you've been on my channel before, you've probably heard me talk about from time to time how I got diagnosed with ADHD 20 years ago. No, I take that back. I'm gonna give an accurate number and say 19 years ago because lying is unethical and I know better than to lie. So as someone who is officially diagnosed with actual attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, it makes me kind of side eye a bit when every other person I seem to come across these days is like,
oh yeah, I have ADHD. I forget my car keys all the time.
And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, no, Carol, what you have is brain fog. I don't want to hear it. But I made this video to give you a little food for thought and ask you, unless you have an official diagnosis of ADHD, have you ever taken a step back and maybe thought, is it ADHD or is it just brain rot from doom scrolling 24/7? It's very apparent that short form content has changed the way we obtain and process information. The way it's structured, like with TikTok series and the option to have these videos on autoplay, it trains one to be put in a loop of wanting more. And I'm not the only one who says and thinks this. I pulled this excerpt of an article from a website called Remove Counseling. TikTok's design promotes fast, superficial viewing rather than encouraging deep cognitive processing. As a result, the information consumed is less likely to transition from short-term memory to long-term memory, making it difficult to recall and apply later. Not only does it affect our behaviors on these apps, but it's even changed the off-platform behaviors. People are struggling to get through long-form content like full-blown YouTube videos that really offer the opportunity to dive deep into a subject and also sitting down to read a book. This way of consuming content changes the brain's reward system because short clips plus fast engagement equals dopamine hits that breed addictive tendencies. And that's psychology math for you. You're welcome. The only math I'm good at. And see, the thing is, TikTok's algorithm is a lot more savvy than a lot of the other social media platforms. You click one video about a certain topic, and your entire For You page is flooded with content that talks about that same topic. Like, for example, I was looking for clean girl aesthetic posts on TikTok to put in my Biggest Loser video that I posted last week, which put on your playlist if you haven't seen it yet. But finish this video first. I mean, in my own life, I don't go looking for those things. I don't search about those things for enjoyment. It's not an area of interest for me. But I had to type the shit in on TikTok, hashtag clean girl aesthetics, to see what videos I could put in my YouTube video as B-roll. And now my For You page is flooded with clean girl aesthetic shit. Point being, TikTok's algorithm for finding content that you might be interested in is superior to other social media algorithms, technically speaking. Not personally speaking, technically speaking, mind you. Now, of course, it's not an official diagnosis, but it's birthed a pseudo-mental disorder called TikTok disorder. And it's basically where people become so dependent on the dopamine hits from TikTok notifications that they need the app to feel good. And it's been noted that excessive and prolonged TikTok use does change your brain's neural pathways responsible for focus and attention. You become wired for instant gratification online and offline. It makes tasks that require attention to detail, patience, and not immediately rewarding pretty difficult to carry out and engage in. But I want to go back to the whole ADHD thing for a sec. I just found out, and I'm not surprised by it, that 48% of ADHD diagnoses are self-diagnosed. And a lot of these self-diagnoses have come from TikTok. I don't think, on the off chance that I go on TikTok for pleasure and not research, it's very rare for me to not come across signs you have ADHD kind of content. ADHD content, I mean, it's oversaturated everywhere now, but it's really oversaturated on TikTok because the shit started on TikTok. Now, of course, that kind of content is not meant to be harmful, and a lot of it does come from a place from wanting to raise awareness about the disorder, but I think that's where it should stop. And there should be information about where to go to get an official diagnosis from a medical provider, a psychiatrist, psychologist, and whoever else is qualified to make that diagnosis. And I'm no conspiracy theorist now, even though I may seem like one at times. I just see through bullshit. Okay? But doesn't it seem like at this point, TikTok wants everybody to believe they have ADHD? I mean, I think so. That is, if you care what I think, and if you clicked this video, I think you do care what I think. I mean, not officially accusing anybody at TikTok of mind control, but wouldn't be surprising. The theory's not far-fetched. And I do think that it's also important to note that ADHD diagnostic criteria has greatly expanded the past few years because, more women are getting diagnosed, or just people in general are getting diagnosed later in life. Because historically, ADHD was more recognized and more quickly diagnosed in young boys because of the hyperactivity aspect. And there's so much more to ADHD than just forgetfulness and a short attention span. I mean, I'm definitely not jumping the gun here and saying that ADHD is overdiagnosed, but I do, as a matter of fact, think that the term needs to be stopped throwing around so loosely because it's vulnerable to invalidating to people like myself who have actually been professionally diagnosed and struggle on the daily with the challenges and to be open about them. And I think we need to come to a point where people just need to take 1 or 2 steps back and learn to distinguish TikTok brain from ADHD. And I know that ADHD exists on a spectrum and it shows up differently in everybody, but it's become such a band-aid term at this point for people finding it difficult to focus on the things they feel like they need to focus on because they need a label for everything. Of course, I'm not any kind of ADHD professional, so I'm gonna let an actual doctor give her 2 cents on this because in comparison, I have the qualifications of a spaghetti noodle. I mean, I only have a bachelor's in psychology, so I think that can count for a little bit of something. But anyway, I'll let the doc talk.
Put some of these ideas to you. You can tell me if you think they're a myth or not. Daydreaming or trouble focusing.
That can be a symptom of ADHD.
Listening to the same song on repeat.
No, I don't think so. There was a study a few years ago, about 80% of us have a song that we like to listen to every day.
Impulsive decision making.
Can be, yep.
Poor time management.
Yes, can be.
Sensitivity or difficulty controlling emotions.
It can be, yes.
Hyperfocus.
Yes, that can be. We tend to think of people with ADHD as unable to pay attention at all, but actually, when you get something you're really engaged with, you can get into the states of hyperfocus.
ADHD paralysis.
Can be, yes. It describes when people with ADHD struggle to initiate tasks, so to start a task that they need to get done.
Forgetfulness.
Yes, that can be.
Interrupting conversations.
Yes, can be.
And guessing movie plots.
I think that's just being into your movies and having watched too many of them that you start to work out what's going on. I don't think it's a symptom of ADHD.
If you're watching this and you're thinking, I do some of those things, what does that mean?
So, all of those, a person who is neurotypical, who doesn't have autism, who doesn't have ADHD, we will all experience those, probably every day. The other thing is that a lot of those aren't necessarily very specific to ADHD. They can reflect something else. Other conditions like autism, or they can reflect anxiety, or they can reflect sleep problems.
What are the implications of people self-diagnosing?
So some of the implications can be good if it's the first step perhaps towards realising that something is not right. I think the issues come when you have lots of people who are perhaps self-diagnosing and then sort of sharing their experiences. So then that kind of, the messaging around their experiences goes to other people who then go, oh, if that's happening to me, then I must have autism or ADHD, when you see it kind of percolates these myths potentially.
What do you think about the potential of TikTok as a public health tool?
I do think the nature of the platform is it's always going to be pretty unregulated. So I'm not sure it's ever going to be our best public health tool. I think the thing with these sorts of videos is they really simplifying ADHD to it's just a dopamine problem, or that if you have ADHD you'll never be able to focus, or very, I think things that seem very black and white. So anything that's sort of screaming if you have this then you have ADHD is unlikely, I think, to be reliable.
And another point of view I want to consider, what if modern life just has too many demands that we can't keep up with mentally as a species? And I pulled this article from one of this channel's favorites, Psychology Today. The increased performance demands of modern societies have almost certainly contributed to the increased likelihood of acquiring a diagnosis of ADHD. The structure of schools in many occupations favors individuals who are more able to sustain effortful focus and attention to detail in low stimulation tasks requiring quiet patience, persistence, organization, self-discipline, and the ability to work towards delayed or abstract rewards. The environment created by modern societies bears little resemblance to the ancestral environment in which our species evolved for most of its history. So it's basically theorizing our modern society is just so fast-paced, so over mentally stimulating for the human brain that it just can't juggle all the things. And that shit's true. We as humans are not built for a fast-paced life. Our brains are not wired to take in the inordinate amounts of information that we consume in modern day society, in our everyday lives. And I mean, all of this doesn't have to go for just ADHD. Like the armchair diagnosing and the signs you may have this, content that you see everywhere on TikTok and other social media video platforms. I mean, like you see it with OCD, borderline personality disorder. I just feel like we need to have more discernment when we're consuming this kind of content because we refer everything that we see back to ourselves. And I just think we gotta stop boomeranging amateur diagnoses like it's nothing and invalidate the real life experiences of those who have ADHD or whatever other disorder or illness someone has actually been diagnosed by a professional with. I mean, all in all, I don't think I'm asking for the moon and the stars here. I mean, I'm asking for the moon and the stars when I'm doing my astrology work. But I'm not asking for the moon and the stars when I say, watch your language.
Watch your profanity.
Don't be so quick to diagnose yourself. But like with everything on this channel, that's just what I think. Do any of you watching have non-self-diagnosed ADHD? Like, have you been diagnosed by a doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, whoever? Please let me know in the comments so we can touch butterfly rings. And let me know what you think about all this ADHD content swirling around TikTok and infiltrating all the online spaces. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up because it really helps this channel grow and reach the people that it needs to reach. And if you really liked this video, like you liked it this much, then I would just love if you joined my emotional support coven. If you're new or haven't seen my videos in a while, that's what I call my subscribers. And it's really just so easy to do. All you gotta do is just take your magic little witchy finger, find where it says subscribe on the screen, and just give it a pretty little tap like this. And if you have your notifications turned on, you'll be one of the first to know when I have a new video drop. I think that's the shit. Because you get to say you were here first. I mean, who doesn't want to say that? That's a flex. But anyway, I hope you gained something enlightening from this video, and I'll see you next week. Bye.